and welcome back to another thrill-packed episode of Student of the Gun Radio. And as you may or may not know, as we record this, it is early. I've got my coffee. I'm wide awake, and I'm ready to go. Now, Jared and I are ready to go, but we're kind of had a little bit of a quandary this week. We were talking on the way back from the range, and we were kind of hypothesizing or wishing that maybe all of the anti-gun lunacy, all of this, the anti-Second Amendment, slave state people, criminals, douche nozzles, would just chill out for a week or two. Because we're looking at the show notes here. I had by Tuesday, I think?
Yeah, I think they were all filled by Tuesday.
Yeah, by Tuesday, I had 2 hours worth of show notes completed. And stupidity just kept happening. And we were talking about it. And I said, well, it's a good thing we have the third bonus hour, so we could put some stuff into the third bonus hour. But, in case you haven't figured it out yet, folks, I am your host, Professor Paul Markle. And with me on the other side of the glass there is Jared, my production engineer, my studio engineer, the man behind the curtain that makes everything happen. And we've got a lot to talk about. So perk up your ears, pay attention, and let's get into Student of the Gun Radio this week. Before we jump into the all the news stories and the things that are going to make you crazy, let's talk about something that's not going to make you crazy. Let's talk about a couple things that are going to make you happy, make you smile. Brownells. Brownells is one of our sponsors, obviously, or you should know that. And Brownells has a promo code. That's PEV, or Papa Echo Victor. If you go to brownells.com, place yourself an order, and if you order $50 or more, insert the promo code PEV, and you'll get $10 off of your order. So that's like getting $10 free stuff out of the Brownells catalog. So check that out. That's good. That promo code is good until August 30th, 2014. Now, speaking of promo codes, you guys know our new sponsor, SWAT Fuel. SWAT Fuel, they provide, what's that, Jared? It's the 9mm Plus P, which is a kind of a workout supplement you take before you're going to work out. It gives you that little extra oomph, that little extra bit of energy. But it's not like the liquids where you peak and then you crash hard. It just kind of goes steadily. It releases steadily throughout the day. So SWATfuel.com. If you go to SWATfuel.com, you put in the promo code SOTG, that's Sierra, Oscar, Tango, Golf, for you military-minded people, and you put in SOTG 2014 2014, that is the promo code, and you will get 20% off your total order. So how cool is that? That's really cool. What do you think, Jared? You with me?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Jared's totally down with that. Now, we're going to get into this, and before we begin the show, or before we get into the stories, I want to read a definition for you. And this is a definition of a term that has been credited to Colonel Jeff Cooper. Now, if you don't know who Colonel Jeff Cooper was a World War II veteran. He's a United States Marine officer, World War II veteran, Korean War veteran, and the founder of Gunsight Training Academy out in Paulden, Arizona. And now, for those of you who are not geographically inclined, Paulden is near Prescott. And if you get the opportunity to go out there, I highly recommend it at least once in your life. Now, Jeff coined a term. In addition to all the other stuff that he did a lot of writing. And some of you older guys remember when Jeff Cooper had the back page, the last page in Guns and Ammo magazine. They called it Cooper's Corner. Now, when it came to people that had an irrational fear of guns, he coined this term. He coined the term hoplophobia. That's HOPLOPHOBIA. Hoplophobia. And if you actually type in hoplophobia in a search engine, the definition comes up like this: an irrational, morbid fear of guns, coined by Colonel Jeff Cooper from the Greek hoplites, or weapons, may cause sweating, faintness, discomfort, rapid pulse, nausea, sleeplessness, more at the mere thought of guns. Hoplophobes are common and should never be involved in setting gun policies. Point out hoplophobic behavior when it is noticed. It is dangerous. Sufferers deserve pity and should seek treatment. When confronted, hoplophobes typically go into denial, a common characteristic of this affliction. So there you have it, folks. All these people out there, in case you guys didn't know it. Now, I know a lot of you guys are hip students of the gun. You're like, dude, I know what hoplophobia is. I'm down with it. But not all of your friends do. And let's face it, a lot of you young guys out there, you young guys and girls, probably don't even know who Colonel Jeff Cooper is, and that's really sad. So it's the responsibility of this generation to train the upcoming generation. Now, I decided I was going to talk. Actually, this is kind of good timing. I decided I was going to talk about hoplophobia and some colossal examples of hoplophobes on parade occurred in D.C. That's the District of Columbia. And what we've got for you guys, we've got several audio clips. So let me go ahead and set it up for you real quick. So what you had is this little blonde chick, and she works for Town Hall Media, and she goes out to the mall. I guess it was the mall in D.C. She takes her little microphone out there, and bless her heart, she decides that she's going to ask people how they feel about the recent Supreme Court ruling, basically striking down the handgun ban in Washington, D.C. And in case you haven't heard, we had a handgun ban in D.C. where you could only have a gun. First of all, they had a complete, total gun ban in D.C. And then the Heller ruling struck that down. And then D.C. said, well, okay, since the court has decided that you peasants can now own firearms in D.C., they set up several stringent sets of laws for licensing and registration. And they also forbid you from possessing a gun outside of your home. There up to this point in time, and actually, for all intents and purposes, there is none right now. There's no concealed carry or any kind of carry in Washington, D.C. Now, we just had another court ruling, and everyone got all excited, and they're like, oh, the judge struck down the law. Well, within, 2-3 days, Jared? There was all kinds of, bedwetting and crying and so forth. And so the judge that ruled that the D.C. law against concealed carry or carrying a gun was unconstitutional, apparently he got a phone call or a couple of phone calls. He came back out a few days later and said, I'm going to go ahead and grant a 90-day stay or moratorium on my own ruling to give the people in D.C. the opportunity to figure out how they're going to deal with this issue. So that's what's going on in the capital of the nation here. So Sarah Jean Seaman goes out to the National Mall, and she decides that she's going to stop people at random, and she's going to ask them how they feel about this new ruling, about, check this out, citizens being able to carry handguns concealed in public. What? I know. And so what we've Jared, you want to are you ready? Are we queued up?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay, let's go.
Clip number 1.
I'm going to have Jared go ahead and cue me up clip number 1, and then we're going to talk about it.
A federal judge ruled over the weekend that the U.S. Capitol's ban on carrying handguns outside of the home was unconstitutional. Now, if you're familiar with the Constitution, the Second Amendment protects the right of citizens to keep and bear arms. But don't pull your handgun out just yet. They ordered a stay on the ruling while lawmakers kind of mull over the logistics of how this is going to look in the nation's capital. So I'm here on the National Mall. It's a beautiful day, and I'm trying to catch people passing by to see if they're familiar with the ruling, and if so, how they feel about it.
Wait, so people can walk around with handguns now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that's kind of dumb, to be honest. Right? I mean, like, people are walking around, and I don't know, it just it decreases the safety level, because then, like, you can be walking around and anyone can just have a gun.
So chick number 1 here, she's shocked to learn that people may be allowed to carry handguns. What? She says, that's dumb. That's just dumb. That's her answer. Now, remember that when we go through these and we listen to all these different clips, remember the definition of hoplophobia. And the quote that we wanted to pull and talk about this from this one is safety level. This young lady believes that allowing people, citizens, law-abiding citizens, because no one ever says, hey, people that are prone to criminal activity, they're just going to go ahead and do it anyway. So we're going to go ahead and exempt them from the law because, let's face it, people who are criminals are just going to go ahead and carry guns regardless of the law. So what the law, it only applies to is lawful citizens or law-abiding citizens. But according to Susie Numbnuts here, that allowing citizens to carry guns to defend themselves decreases the safety level. Now, Jared and I were trying to figure out if there is a new set of plastic signs now when you go out into public, into the open area there, where they're out there going to post signs that says safety level. I don't know, what's the safety level going to be in, Jared? Is it going to be a color code or an alpha code or a numeric code, or what are we going to do?
I don't know. There's too many color codes already, so I think we should come up with something new.
So we could do like safety level, and you have your basic sign, and then underneath it at the bottom of the sign, you've got one of those little interchangeable, kind of like the so many days. Maybe we could do it with chalk, or in your shop it says X number of days without a work-related accident.
There you go.
And each day the foreman comes in and he erases, 3 and writes 4 there. Maybe that could be our safety level. You could have a changeable sign. And so today's safety level is Bravo. But we have to figure out is like, Alpha or Bravo, is that really good or is it really bad? I don't know. We'll have to talk about that off air. So this young lady believes that allowing citizens to carry guns for self-defense decreases the safety level. And I would admit that she's right. It does decrease the safety level. It decreases the safety level for professional scumbags. But I digress. Now let's go ahead. This next one is a short clip, but it's very illustrative of the thought process of many people that are out there consuming all the valuable oxygen in our nation. Jared, give us clip 2.
I feel like my constitutional rights for safety has been violated.
All right. For participant number 2 in this survey, we have an older woman, a woman who's older than the first one, and she thinks that this violates her constitutional right for safety. Jared, what is your constitutional right for safety?
Well, I would assume that my constitutional right for safety would be the Second Amendment.
Yeah, maybe the reporterette should have said, hey, lady, there is one constitutional right for safety, and that would be the Second Amendment, you moron. And this is a great illustration of people in the United States of America who think that everything they want, everything they desire, everything they think is correct is a constitutional right. Well, I have a constitutional right to have a job, a constitutional right to food and housing and clean water and everything else. Everything I want in the world is my constitutional right. No, it's not, you moron. And there's a little phrase out there that says, when everything is a right, nothing is a right. Rights are really, really special. And in the very beginning of this clip, young Sarah Jean, she says, if you're familiar with the Constitution, like most people aren't, and unfortunately, apparently most people who walk around the mall and in D.C. are not at all familiar with the United States Constitution. And they like to just put things in there that aren't there, like as in, separation of church and state. Or what do we learn from our Common Core textbook, Jared, that the Second Amendment is there for what?
For the
so people could be armed in a state militia.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
the right to be armed in a state militia.
Yeah, the right to be armed in a state militia. Your Common Core textbooks are teaching your kids that the First Amendment guarantees separation of church and state, and the second one guarantees the right of armed militias. But of course, we don't want to use the term militia, right? Because that's a pejorative, and if you're in a militia, you're a crazy person, even though it's all over the original founding documents. But we're getting off track here. We've heard from two ladies. Let's hear from a guy. Let's see what a gentleman has to say. Jared, give me clip number 3, will you?
More people carrying guns means more opportunity for those guns to be used. I mean, basically. So, I mean, yeah, they might have them legally, and they might have no intention of actually using them. But the fact that they're there, the more guns there are, the more opportunity there is for them to be used.
All right, so white-haired glasses dude here, and Jared's you're gonna put the link to this in the show
it'll be
notes.
in the show notes.
Yeah, he's if you wanted to know a definition of a hoplophobe, this dude right here. So he's very concerned that more guns will lead to more opportunities to use them. Then he buttresses his argument. He says, well, people may have no intention of actually using them, but the fact that they're there, the fact that they exist, that is what's scary to him. The fact that I'm not necessarily against the Second Amendment, but the fact that there are more guns, and that means there's more opportunities for those guns to be used. Well, yeah, that is true. So if I'm at the Luby's cafeteria and I have a gun and a psycho bursts in and decides he's going to murder everyone, I have an opportunity to use the gun that is on my side to defend myself and other people. But apparently, if you ever want to know what a hoplophobe looks like, there's lots of them in here. But this guy, clip number 3, he's really concerned that even though they may have no intention of using them illegally, the fact that they're there is what really bothers him. Now, this next one, I really didn't know what to call this next dude. I'm in the show notes, I kind of have him. As it says Rasta dude in my show notes here. This guy here, he's you got to listen a little bit closely to what he has to say. Jared, go ahead and give us clip number 4.
I do not necessarily oppose the Second Amendment. It is in the Constitution for a reason. What I oppose is the idea that anyone can own a gun.
Well, Rasta dude here, and if I'm using that incorrectly, send me a letter. Rasta dude here, not only does he have a wonderful array of necklaces and neckwear there. What is he? He's got like the Mr. T Jamaican starter kit there going on here, Jared. What has he got? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 necklaces going on. And he's not really opposed to the Second Amendment. He's just opposed to the idea that anybody can own a gun. Did you get that part?
Yeah, that's
So,
I don't quite. Isn't that what the Second Amendment is?
He's cool with the Second Amendment. He just doesn't think that it means that anybody can own a gun. And this dude actually, he went on for quite a while there. And his suggestion was that the Congress should follow reasonable gun laws and then make sure that everyone has a background check. And once they decide who should have a gun, then, well, those people should be allowed. So the theme here is the Congress should be allowed to decide who gets and who doesn't get to have a gun. Well, if you went back to 1775, 1776, you had a very similar situation where the state, the ruling class, was in a position where they were going to tell people who was going to be allowed and who wasn't. Hence, the reason for the Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights is so that the state can't randomly pick and choose who can and who can't have a gun. You're like, yeah, but Paul, well, if we don't have those checks and balances, then bad people are going to get guns. Hey, dude, Mr. Psycho dude, bad people already do. bad people always will. Bad people will always find a way to hurt good people. Sorry, but that's the way it is. So you're just saying that we should have access to firearms, anyone should? Well, I don't know. No, maybe what we should do is we should limit the access to firearms for law-abiding people, and then those who are prone to violence, we'll just let them go on their own merry way. Well, you mean and break the law? Yeah, you mean like and break the law. It's crazy. Now, this next one is this chick right here, clip number 5. Jared's going to cue it up in a second here, but she is right there. She can be saved. She is the only person in this clip. Now, there's a guy that we didn't use because he was kind of, I don't know. But in this one, of our clips, of our 6 clips, this next woman, she can be saved. Cue it up, Jared.
I guess it makes for an even playing field. If you have people who have weapons illegally, they have concealed weapons. So giving citizens the opportunity to protect themselves. But then again, on the other side, you may have people who may go on rampages and shoot people.
All right, so this chick right here, in the show notes, I got her peach shirt lady. The chick in the peach shirt right here, she can be saved because the first thought out of her mouth is, I guess it evens the playing field because you've got bad people that could have guns, and if you had good people that had guns, then they could defend themselves. But, bless her heart, see, this is what happens when you spend time around ninnies and nitwits and idiots. If you are a clear-thinking person, but you spend time around a bunch of hoplophobes, around a bunch of politically correct douche nozzles, what will happen is they will infect you with their nasty reasonableness disease. So when her original answer is very good, she goes, I guess it makes for, even playing field, giving citizens the opportunity to protect themselves. And she should stop right there. But then she does the reasonable thing. She does the reasonable deal and says, well, but then again, on the other side, you might have some people that go on a rampage. Well, how is disarming good people going to stop bad people from going on rampages? So we'll give this lady a pass. And thank you to Sterling Archer for telling us what a rampage is. Now, the last one here, clip number 6, this woman is a colossal, what is it, a glittering jewel of colossal ignorance or?
Glittering or glamoring or something.
A glittering jewel of colossal ignorance. This last one, this lady, she wants to go back to, a lot of people that support the Constitution, support the Bill of Rights, they go back and they discuss, what what our forefathers were thinking. And this lady right here, she doesn't really, she doesn't think the forefathers were that smart or that they couldn't have. Oh, just go ahead and listen to it and then we'll dissect it.
I don't think that our forefathers thought that this would be the way our world was today. And so it makes absolutely no sense to me.
So how do you think we should handle the Second Amendment then? Because it says that citizens have the right to keep and bear arms. Do you think it's kind of changed with the times?
Yes. Of course, everything changes with times. And I think people who say you're right to keep and bear arms, that was what our forefathers, they lived in a different world. It was rural. They were Indians. It was, it was a different world. And so it makes no sense for today's world. And I think it does need to be amended.
All right, this last lady, she falls back on the so typical tired argument against the Second Amendment. That is that our forefathers, Washington and Jefferson and Madison, and they could have never anticipated what was going to happen in the United States. They could have never anticipated the AR-15 or the AK-47. So, and if they would have anticipated that, then they would not have put the Second Amendment in there, or they would have put an expiration date on it. And I thought if you're a good liberal, you weren't supposed to call the original inhabitants of this nation Indians. I thought you were supposed to call them Native Americans. See, she slips right off of the good liberal bandwagon here by saying that we had guns back then, during the founding times, because we needed to kill Indians. According to this lady here, that was the reason that we had guns back when our forefathers were around, was to shoot Indians. But the times, they've changed, and it just makes no sense to let people carry guns or have guns. And, she just thinks that we need to amend the Second Amendment. This argument is really easy to knock out of the park. Well, number one, lady, if you want to talk about parity, if you go back to 1775, 76, 77, or even earlier, you will see that the citizens had the exact same armament as the state, as the redcoats, as the British troops, as the regulars. When they marched out, when the British regulars marched out of Boston on April 19th of 1775, and they headed to Lexington and Concord, their mission was to capture and or destroy not only the small arms, not only muskets and rifles and ball and powder, but also to seize the cannons. What? Yeah. You're telling me that the colonists, that the citizens, that just regular people that lived in the little towns of Lexington and Concord, that they had cannons? Yes, that is exactly what I'm telling you. They had cannons. And the British decided that they were going to seize them because the peasants could no longer be allowed to have them because they were a threat to the crown. They were a threat to the ruling class. So, lady, in 1791, the same arms that the state possessed were those same arms that the citizen possessed. There was nothing in there that says, well, you can't, the government can have X guns, but the peasant class, the citizens. If you go back and you read anything about the founding, if you go back and read Paul Revere's Ride, the book called Founding Brothers, if you read the book 1776, if you really are into a serious read, if you read the Federalist Papers, if you read the Political Thought of the American Revolution, any of these books, you go back there and you read what the founders actually wrote, what they said. And we're not just talking about Washington and Jefferson. We're talking about literally, dozens, hundreds even of the original founders, the people that were around then. What was their thought process? And their thought process was that the citizen is supposed to be the boss. The citizen is supposed to be in charge. The citizen is not a peasant class. They're not subservient. When you get into the government, you don't become special and get special rules only for you. Anytime someone tells you that, well, if you hear about a senator or a congressman and they're going to pass a law or they propose a bill, and the bill says the citizens can't have X, but if you work for the government, this bill doesn't apply to you. What you've got right there is you have the makings of tyranny. Anytime the government decides to exempt itself from a law that it's going to apply to the citizen, that is tyranny, folks, in a nutshell right there. If you want to know what tyranny looks like, it's a bill that says, well, this applies to those peasants out there, but it doesn't apply to us because we're the special people. We're the ruling class. Now, we thought you would really appreciate that special report on hoplophobia and how apparently there are a lot of them running around there in D.C. and elsewhere. Speaking of D.C., we're going to continue on our District of Columbia theme, and this actually ties in not only with our hoplophobia, but it ties in with the class that we just taught last week, the Force Options class. Now, this is a super special update, and so a super special update deserves a super special update theme.
Tiptoe through the window, by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
Well, thank you to our friend Tiny Tim for that vagination report update. And this story comes to us again from townhall.com. And the story is about how in the District of Columbia, now we already know that in order to own a firearm in the District of Columbia, you have to be an approved firearms owner. That's right. You must get permission from the state to possess a gun. You have to be a registered firearms owner, and not just to possess a gun. What else, Jared? What do we know that you need? In order to possess what?
A knife.
Well, no, ammunition. Remember
not even actual ammunition.
Yeah, just like components.
Just components of the ammunition.
A round piece of lead. If you have a conical shaped bullet that doesn't have any powder in it in D.C., you got to be careful because you may be charged and convicted with attempted possession of unregistered ammunition.
Do you know what the knife laws are up there?
I would say that if it has a sharp edge on it and it's in your pocket, you're probably wrong.
So, I mean, a lot of things that a lot of times people don't really think about. A knife is a tool, as is a gun, as is a hammer, as is.
Well, yeah, you're thinking logically.
Right. And so, but I mean, a lot of people, they categorize guns as different than knives, but knives are deadly force as well.
Right. Well, I mean, this pen that's in my hand right now, it's deadly force if it's in my hand. It could be.
Right. But I mean, a knife and as well as a gun are designed for that purpose.
Well, a knife is a cutting tool, but I would say that if you're – and people say, well, I can't carry a gun in this district or this area or Chicago or Detroit or – well, Detroit's a little bit different now, but or basically any big city that forbids you from carrying a gun, if you read their concealed carry laws, basically they forbid you from carrying anything, not just a gun. If you read the New York City laws, the Washington, D.C. laws, the Chicago laws, it's not just guns. It's anything that you could possibly use to defend yourself against a scumbag criminal is illegal because, hey, criminals have rights. Do criminals have a constitutional right to safety? I think they do in Chicago. So, but this, ladies and gentlemen, D.C., and the title of this story is D.C. defines pepper spray as firearm. And I know you're out there, you're like, what? There is no way that they are that stupid in the District of Columbia to actually define pepper spray as a firearm. Well, you would think that, but you might be wrong. And the story here actually originates because someone decided that they were going to purchase pepper spray for their 18-year-old daughter so that they would have something to carry with them. And if you walk into a store in D.C. and you want to purchase pepper spray, they hand you over a form, and you're like, what? You say, yes, I would like to buy a pepper spray canister so that I can use it to protect my daughter. And they say, okay, here's your registration form. And you say, what? Yes. There's a special DC code, and I've got it right here in front of me. It says under DC Official Code 7-2502.12. The only legal types of self-defense sprays are a mixture of a lacrimator, including yada, 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 all these chemical names, and oleoresin capsicum. And it says that anyone who possesses it must fill out a registration form. Yeah, it says if a person purchases a self-defense spray from a person or business located within the district, the seller will provide a registration form to be completed by the purchaser. The seller is then required to forward the registration form to the MPD, the Metropolitan Police Department, Firearms Registration Section. Did you guys get that right there? So if you live in D.C. and you want to buy yourself or your daughter or your mother or anyone a can of pepper spray, you have to fill out a registration form. And then that registration form is sent to the MPD Firearms Registration Section, where I guess they just have so much time on their hands that they can maintain records of pepper spray sales, because I'm sure that does a lot in keeping the criminals safe from you peasants.
I was looking up the definition of a firearm, and according to, obviously the states can define stuff as however they want to, but it says the term firearm is defined in the Gun Control Act of 1968 to include A, any weapon, including a starter gun, which will or is designed to or may readily be converted to expel a projectile by the action of an explosive. B, the frame or receiver of any such weapon. And then it says air guns, because they use compressed air and not an explosive to expel a projectile, do not constitute firearms under federal law. So under federal law, anything that does not
use an explosion.
Repellent, yeah. Just like you said. But I was reading down here, it says, we caution that ATF is not charged with enforcement or oversight of the firearms laws of states or localities. What? How's that working?
Well, unless we want to.
Unless they don't have to.
We don't have to.
That's not a responsibility if they don't want it to be.
If we want to put the hammer down on you, there's nothing to stop us from doing it. So we can. It's kind of like the police have no special duty to protect you as an individual citizen. If they feel like it, they can, but they don't have a special duty that requires them to do that thing. So the ATF doesn't have to enforce it, but if they feel like it, if they feel like setting an example or making an example of you in order to scare your fellow peasants, then they'll go ahead and they'll drop the hammer right down on you.
Yeah.
So, folks, we thought you'd appreciate the rampant insanity that has infested the District of Columbia. And, so not only can you have to be a registered firearms owner, you have to register yourself with the state if you want to own a firearm in the District of Columbia. But you also, if you want to have pepper spray, you have to register that too. Now, if you would like to actually have some real, no-kidding information, some education, some training, you might want to think about getting into one of our Force Options classes. And the Force Options class, it's a one-day class. It's actually the Friday before we do our Beyond the Band-Aid courses. And it dispels all the myth and mythology and bullcrap that's floating around out there. And Jared, is now a good time to issue the challenge?
Yeah, let's do that. Issue this challenge.
All right. Folks, let me give you a quick background on Paul Markel and what I've done. Well, in addition to being a United States Marine and a police officer, in 1995, I became a law enforcement oleoresin capsicum, or OC, pepper spray instructor. Now, cops call the stuff in the can, they call it oleoresin capsicum, or they call it OC. Citizens call it pepper spray because that's a super generic term like Kleenex or Jell-O, whatever. I became an OC instructor, and I put through hundreds upon hundreds of students through the OC class. I trained them, certified them, all that jazz, so they could carry it out on the job. And they would know exactly what it did, how it did it, and how to decontaminate someone who'd been exposed to it. All right, fantastic. And and in the TV show was season 3, wasn't it, Jared? Yeah, it was season 3, like episode 12 or 13 or something. I don't remember what it was, but it doesn't matter. We specifically addressed pepper spray as a use of force, as kind of somewhere between empty hands and a gun. And we got a bunch of, and I knew this was going to happen because people wrap they wrap their egos around what they don't know. We got a bunch of feedback from these armchair quarterbacks and clowns that are sitting in their mom's basement in a beanbag chair with a bag of Cheetos about how pepper spray is junk. And I went through the gas chamber in the Army, or I went through the gas chamber in, I don't know, in the Coast Guard, do they do the gas chamber, Jared?
Well, they don't fire live ammunition, so probably not.
Probably not. But and that stuff is all a bunch of crap, and it doesn't work. All right. I'm going to go ahead and issue the official Student of the Gun pepper spray challenge. And you can't see it right now, but in my hot little hands, I have a $100 bill. And if you think pepper spray is crap, if you think it's bull, if you think you can fight through it, no problem. Come on down here to Free America. Come on down to the Student of the Gun University. I will set, Jared, what distance you want to do? You want to do the Tueller rule? Let's do the Tueller rule because Dennis Tueller is the founder, all right? I will set a $100 bill at 21 feet from you. And you have to allow me to hit you. I will hit you with, what do we do, Fox? Yeah, Fox is good. With Fox pepper spray. I'll give you 2 squirts, Fox pepper spray. If you think it's crap, if you think it's bull, if you think that doesn't work and you can fight through it and you can get to that $100 bill at the Tueller rule, 7 yards, 21 feet, you can have it.
We'll do the exact same kind of pepper spray that was used in that video.
That's a good point. We'll do the exact same pepper spray that was used in our segment on TV. So are you feeling froggy? You think you're feeling froggy out there? You're a man. You've been through the gas chamber. Nothing's going to affect you. Drive on, brothers. $100 and just take the challenge.
We'll give them 15 minutes to get to it. How about that?
15?
Nah, let's do 10.
Nah, whatever.
20? We could probably do 30.
Well, here's the deal. I'm not giving. They're on their own. You're on your own. I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to walk over, grab your shoulder. But no. So that's it. That $100 challenge. Put $100 down at 21 feet, pepper spray, 2 squirts, 1, 2 out of a can of Fox OC.
And if you want us to pour water on you, you have to scream mama.
So there you go. There's the we thought you guys would appreciate that. We know that you will. All right, let's move on. This next one, and I see we're getting into the 40 minutes already, but we need to take a little bit of time to talk about this. Has been all over the place. We've had probably 4, 5, 6 people of you fans out there who've sent this to us via Facebook or private email messages or whatever. Comes to us from the People's Republic of California, and it is still in the vagination section, although it could be slave state. San Jose representative announces bill to ban civilians from accessing military-grade body armor. Representative Mike Honda, Democrat. What? He's got a D behind his name. That's crazy. From San Jose, Wednesday announced legislation that would block civilians from accessing military-grade body armor to prevent, this is what we always do, to prevent criminals from using them in gun battles with law enforcement. All right, folks. Other than the movie Heat and the 1997 L.A. bank robbery, when's the last time that you saw criminals seriously engage in gun battles with law enforcement?
I got a question. Why is he worried about criminals engaging in gun battles in California? Because they should only have 10 rounds.
Well, you are absolutely correct, Jared. If criminals follow the law, because we know criminals, that's the first thing they do before they commit a crime, is they check the California State Revised Code to see if what they're about to do is legal or not legal. If the gun laws work, then, as Jared said, they would only have 10 rounds. And, Jared, we know that they would have to use a special bullet button to change magazines.
Exactly.
If they have a rifle, that they have to use a special tool to change out their 10-round slave mags, because those keep us safe. The bullet buttons, the special bullet buttons, keep us safe. Also, and the California legal guns, they have fixed stocks, because retractable and folding stocks are super dangerous.
I have another question. Can you define law enforcement ammunitions for me?
Law enforcement ammunition?
Yeah, he says, we're not talking about just any standard bulletproof vest. He said, we're talking about body armor that is designed for warfare, designed to protect against law enforcement ammunitions.
Oh, it's designed to protect against law enforcement ammunitions. And it says ammunitions with an S on the end of it.
Yeah.
So, hey, Mike, shut up. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no – this is another one of those, hey, what can I say to appeal to the idiot hoplophobes that live in California? The peace, love, dope idiot hoplophobes that live in San Jose or San Francisco or whatever everything's a San something out there in California. What can I say? What kind of feel-good nonsense legislation? What can I put forth that will distract the masses from the fact that California is broke, that California is currently, thanks to the federal government and the EPA, in, 100-year drought? They're like the worst drought in 100 years going on in California right now. It's destroying the economy. It's destroying their ability to produce fruits, nuts, food, and so forth. But we don't want to talk about that in California. We got Mike Honda here, who's not really concerned about the fact that the state is broke, that the fact that the state can't even produce enough electricity to support itself, that has to go out of state to get electricity from other places, the fact that they're in a horrendous drought and they're having to import food and they can't let's face it, California at one point in time was a huge food-producing state. Oranges, fruits, nuts, all that good stuff comes from California. You get the EPA involved and they essentially destroy the farming. We've got all that going on. We've got the public health care system and the public school system is being overwhelmed and destroyed by illegal immigration. We got people that don't pay taxes that are flooding into the emergency rooms, flooding into the doctor's offices, flooding into the public schools. They're overwhelming those, and they're destroying their abilities. Hey, if you live in California, tell me, how many hospitals have had to shut down emergency rooms because they can't keep giving out free health care to illegals? Let me say, a lot. But Mike Honda's solution, he's going to fix the world out there by making sure that you peasants can't access military-grade body armor. And what the heck even is that? Now, if you're talking about stopping law enforcement ammunitions, what are we talking about stopping, Mike? 155 grain jacketed hollow point from a 40 caliber Glock? Because that's law enforcement ammunition. Does Mike think that cops shoot like super depleted uranium? What are we talking about here, Mike? Let me guess. You don't have any freaking idea what you're talking about, Mike. You're a moron, but you're a California moron, so we have to give you a microphone and let you say stupid crap in public. Jared, where are we at?
We're about at 47 minutes. I want to enunciate one more thing that this dude said, and then we're going to have to wrap it up. But it says, there's nothing more dangerous than an unstoppable, well-armored shooter. I could AC-130, Black Hawk helicopter. There's two things right off the top of my head. Anything else that could be more dangerous than one person that's well-armored?
Yeah, an Apache. That thing's got machine guns and rockets.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you're an idiot, but you're a California idiot. And what do we know about California? Despite what they say, there are more liberal lunatics in California. And folks, sorry, if you're out there listening to us in California and you're like, dude, I'm a faithful dude. I'm in California. It's like, when are you and your fellow patriots going to retake the state? Well, we can't, because every time we, get united, what they do is they flood the state with pre-registered Democrat voters. Well, I don't know what to tell you, brother, but if you're out there in California and you are a good, faithful citizen, you're a patriot, and you keep donating your weekly paycheck to the state, giving them your tax dollars so they can continue to enslave you with your own money, I don't know what to say to you. Although I will say this, that Budget is renting trucks, and you can rent one and get out of there. Well, man, like I said, folks, there's so much rampant retardation going on in the world right now that we actually didn't even get close to finishing the show notes from number one here. But fear not, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back. Now, don't forget, once you've got your two regular hours of Student of the Gun, we've got our bonus hour coming up. That's a bonus third hour where Jared lets me off the chain a little bit.
What are we going to be talking about in this week's third hour?
In the bonus hour, we're going to be talking about busting firearms world myths and a woman who crushes a home invader's nuts That's going to be in the bonus third hour this week.
Nuts.
But don't forget about Student of the Gun TV, channel Dish Network, channel 266, Monday nights at 9. You can also watch it on the Roku app, on Hunt Channel's Roku app. You can download the Student of the Gun mobile app for free, for nothing, on your Android phone or your iPhone or your iPad or whatever you've got there. And special thanks to our friends at Colt, the makers of the LE901 and XS sights, the fastest sights in any light. Now, like I said, we will be right back with part 2 of this week's episode. Don't forget, you're a beginner once, a student for life.